Hello and welcome to the Doofcast, a film and TV podcast from Doof Media. My name is Scott Daly, and I'm joined by the king of summer, Mr. Matt Freeman. How's it going today, Matt?
It's Doof Summer.
Woo! Woo! What do you think? What is the song of summer going to be this year? And is that a thing that still exists in 2023?
I'm sure it does for people who listen to the radio, but it doesn't exist for me.
Do people listen to the radio?
I sometimes my car gives me these like XM radio commercials because it's trying to bully me into buying XM radio, and it'll play like a bunch of snatches of songs and be like, tune in for the latest hits, and it'll play these songs, and I don't recognize any of them at all. Like presumably they're all like the greatest hits of the moment that all of the kids know, and I've never heard them at all, and I'm kind of proud of myself for that.
Yeah. I feel like kids mostly get their new music from TikTok these days.
Yeah, it makes sense.
I don't know if that's true. I'm an old man. I don't know these things, but I don't know. I mean, I don't listen to the radio.
Yeah, I think also like YouTube, I think they use it as like a backing track for their YouTube videos or so forth.
Well, and I mean, like Spotify is like curated playlists and stuff. So presumably if you have like a show me the latest hits playlist on Spotify, they'll just pull stuff in. I don't know. This isn't important. Just curious.
Maybe it's not.
Well, this week on our show, it is officially summer movie season. We talked about Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 last week, which is the movie that kicked off the summer, and we thought it would be fun to spend an hour or so looking at the calendar for summer 2023 and talking about the movies we're going to experience this year. It's interesting, Matt, because we haven't done an episode like this in a while, and I think it's because it hasn't felt like summer movie season in a while. You know, since 2019, we haven't really had what you would call a traditional summer movie season.
Yeah, I think the inspiration for this was that we went and saw Guardians of the Galaxy, and we both felt like there was an unusual number of trailers that we were actually excited to see.
Yeah,
to one degree or another, and yeah, it's getting to be a regular year.
Wild,
quite unusual.
Absolutely wild. Yeah, and we'll see which of these movies end up doing well and which end up bombing. I think we've got some bomb potential here on the docket for summer movie season.
That's true. That's true.
So we're going to talk all about that. We're going to move from May all the way into August as we look at some of the biggest movies. I'll say here, this is not going to be a holistic list. We're not going to talk about every movie coming out for the next 4 months. That would take hours and hours and hours. We're just going to try to highlight some of the biggest ones and the ones we're most interested in.
Yeah. And you know, if you're surprised that we don't talk much about Dune, despite me saying that I'm really excited, that's because it's coming out in November, even though they're already releasing trailers for it in the theaters. So they're marketing that one pretty hard.
Got to build that hype. Let's talk about the Dune trailer right now, Matt, before we start this thing off, because that trailer came out. You watched it.
Yeah.
It looks pretty freaking good.
It does.
I was... My experience with the trailer was, man, this looks amazing. Also, it's wild to me that they did a whole movie before any of the really amazing, awesome shit in Dune happens.
Yeah. I mean, this movie's basically going to begin with the first really awesome thing, probably, right?
Yeah.
It's
and I loved the first Dune, right? I loved that movie. That was one of my favorite movies of the year it came out. But like, it's just so wild to me that the decision was made to chop this story in half, and they put all of the awesome shit in one movie and like none of the awesome shit in the other movie.
Yeah, it's surprising to me that that movie was as popular as it was, because I mean, at the time I was like, this is basically a movie for Dune fanboys. And thus, by all rights, it should not be mainstream successful because it's weird. But from the trailer, you can see already that they're going to put a lot of the weird, cool, awesome stuff in the second one. A lot of the stuff that didn't make it into the Lynch adaptation. Yeah,
and Villeneuve has said that this is it. That this is going to be the movie that concludes Dune, at least this adaptation. You think they're going to put up a part 3 coming soon at the end? It's like there's a lot they have to fit in this movie, I think.
I think this is, I mean, there's this shot in the trailer that's basically the last scene of the book.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel confident that there's not going to be another one for Dune. Now, I have heard like persistent rumors that Villeneuve wants to make a Children of Dune and Dune Messiah um, film as well, or
Hmm.
several more films. I've heard rumors that he's just that big of a fan, and I've heard things to the effect of like, well, he doesn't really consider the story complete until you get all the way through, the second or third book, which I'm personally I consider myself a fan, and I am like, no, I think the first book is like the core. But anyway, I
Yeah.
don't know how much credibility to put on these rumors, um,
Sure. Sure.
but who knows?
Yeah, I mean, well, we got Florence Pugh joining the cast. She's playing the princess, and then Austin Butler, fresh off his big Elvis role, is shaving his head and getting really really pale.
Getting weird. Yeah, it's interesting because in the trailer it looks like there are parts of the film that are going to be black and white,
Yeah,
which I wonder why they're going to do that or how that's going to work out exactly. It's really
sure.
interesting though.
I'm really excited. I think everyone out there is pretty excited about this film. It's going to be big. It's going to be awesome, and we're definitely going to talk about it when it comes out. But it is not a summer movie,
Correct.
so we've already broken our rule.
Oh well.
But let's get into it, Matt. Let's talk about the summer. We'll begin in May. Obviously, Guardians of the Galaxy already came out. We had a big conversation about that last week. Didn't receive too many angry people at my less than favorable review of it, but I went
Yeah.
back and listened, and I feel like I uh, I kind of protected myself a little bit too much because we mostly had good things to say about that movie.
Yeah. I mean, I did like it a lot. I talked to my kids about it again, and they like made me like it even more because they just talked about how much they liked it, which is
Mm-hmm.
infectious. But yeah, I mean, I think all the pushback that we got was very polite.
Yeah.
Appreciate that.
All right, I think the movie to start with here, Matt, is the movie that, as people are listening, will be out in theaters. Comes out May 19th, and it's called Fast X, or 10. I don't know anymore.
Uh-huh.
So, I mean, we both watched almost all the movies in the Fast and the Furious franchise. I used to love them so much. I mean, I watched Fast 7, the Paul Walker one, where he passed away, and wept in the theater. I still have not watched Fast 9. That's the one that came out during the pandemic. We put it on one day. We made it like 15 minutes in, and we're like, I don't feel like watching this right now.
Uh-huh.
And so I still haven't watched that movie. And then I look at the trailer for this movie, and I'm just like, man, I don't know.
Yeah.
How do you feel about Fast X?
Well, I think I need to remind you that you're the one who's always been into this franchise, and
Yeah,
I only grudgingly watched them for like a podcast, and that was it was kind of ridiculous because I watched like all of the movies in like a week or two, which is really not the thing that you do if you want to enjoy something.
sure.
Um, so frankly, I'm not excited about it, and I'm just not really in on the franchise, and that's fine. Um, but I guess there's nothing. I'm not going to see it. Let me put it that way.
I mean, it's like it's interesting because Jason Momoa has joined the cast, Brie Larson is joining the cast. Huge people are in this. John Cena is already in this movie. Dwayne Johnson used to be uh, disappeared. I think actually that's one thing this franchise has been sorely missing is The Rock. He and Vin Diesel do not get along.
Uh-huh.
But this movie was plagued with production issues. The director, Justin Lin, who directed several of the other Fast and the Furious movies, left the project in the very beginning of filming. Creative differences, and the rumor is he left the filming because Vin Diesel showed up horribly out of shape, didn't know any of his lines, and was acting like he's the king of the universe. And Justin Lin just couldn't deal with it anymore and left. So, word on the street is that this movie is a mess. I mean, they're all kind of messy, but that this one is especially messy. I'm really interested to see how this does financially because, like, I don't think. I mean, 9 didn't do that great, but that had the pandemic excuse. This movie, I don't know. I think one weird thing as well is that like these movies, this series used to perform very very well in China, and I don't know if you're aware of this thing that's happening. Where really since the pandemic, all these traditionally like very popular American movies that played gangbusters in China have just not been doing well in China at all. That like post pandemic, the Chinese people basically said, we're going to go back to the theaters, but we really just want to watch our movies, actually. And that's what they've been doing. And so like there's this kind of mini crisis in Hollywood as people don't mind giving Vin Diesel $30 million to keep making fast movies because it's going to be guaranteed to make 150, 200 million in China alone. And now suddenly companies like Universal on their balance sheets, on their budgeting sheets are putting a zero in for the China market because they're just expecting not to get any money there. It's kind of a wild thing that's happening. And this movie, I think, is at the center of it.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I'd also heard that basically the sort of Chinese film system very intentionally sort of learned from all of the American films that were being made in China, and then they just were like, all right, now we can do it. And now
Yeah.
so like they're making really good, you know, best in class quality films, and now there's kind of no need for this kind of thing.
Yeah, that's true. That this kind of big budget, expensive special effects laden film, there just weren't too many of those being made in China, and they are now. They're making them all the time, and they look just as good as our movies. And I think it makes a lot of sense if you're a Chinese citizen that you would rather see a movie made in your country, starring people in your country. And that like we've been doing this thing in America and Hollywood, we're just clearly and obviously pandering to China in a lot of our blockbuster movies, like just throwing in a very, very popular Chinese actor to be like, hey, look, we're throwing you guys a bone. And they like know about it too.
Yeah.
They like,
right.
I think they call it like egg rolling over there or something. Like they're aware that they're being pandered to and they're rejecting it. And I mean, that's cool to see. It's cool that their own film industry is really picking up and stuff like that. But it's got movies like this one kind of freaking out. We'll see how Fast 10 does because it's traditionally a very, very popular franchise over there.
Yeah, I'm curious. I want to pick up on something you said a second ago about Vin Diesel being out of shape. So once I point this out, I'm afraid I'll ruin a lot of things for you. But like, there's a certain thing you can just like notice about a lot of these actors as they get older and continue to have ridiculous physiques due to the amount of testosterone and growth hormone, et cetera, that they consume, is basically that they just like their head like gets rounder and fatter.
Yeah.
And like so like even if they're still like jacked and like even if they can like cut down like basically lose weight, their like face and cheeks still end up like spherical.
Yeah.
And it's just a thing that I've noticed happening in recent years as we see some of these like muscle man actors get into their 40s or 50s and yet try to continue to be muscle man actors. And it's becoming really distracting to me because Vin Diesel's not the only one. I mean, there's a bunch of them. And I wish I seriously want us to go back to like leading men not having to have 60 pounds of extra muscle just to be taken seriously. Like it's unhealthy for them. It's actually bad for male body image. It's just overall and all around a bad thing for our society.
Yeah, I agree. You know what I noticed? We didn't talk about this last week, but like Chris Pratt is looking not like fat, but he's definitely looking more like a normal human being than like at the beginning of Guardians 1. I saw it or Guardians 3. I saw it at Draft House, and so they showed a bunch of clips from the other Guardians, and it's like just remembering the freshly cut, muscly Chris Pratt that appeared in that movie, and everyone's like, "Oh, whoa, he looks much more just like a normal guy now." I think.
Yeah, which is healthy.
Yeah.
And he kind of looks his age, which he's. I just looked it up. He's 43, and it's like, yeah, good. This is healthy.
Yeah, because there's that joke in Guardians about how humans only live till 50. What's the point?
Yeah, that's great.
It's really great. Yeah, so I don't know. We'll see. I'm more curious to see how this movie does financially than I am curious to see what happens in it. I mean, Jason Momoa, obviously, I like a whole bunch. He seems like he's having fun in the movie. I'm going to see this eventually, just like I will get around to watching the ninth one eventually. They are saying that this is the penultimate movie, right?
Okay.
That they're going to finish the Fast franchise in the 11th film. We'll see. We'll see.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, is the story? I guess it is a continuous, story. So
I mean, it is to the extent of it's the same characters and they exist in the same world in which the other things have happened. Like in this movie, Jason Momoa is apparently playing a guy that was involved somehow in the heist they did in the fifth movie where they dragged the giant safes through Brazil. He apparently was impacted by that somehow and now wants his revenge. But it's really like the formula for these movies is now there's a very famous bad guy and they fight him throughout the movie, and then he ends up joining the family and he helps them against the next famous bad guy. Because I'm pretty sure in Fast 9, John Cena was the bad guy, and now he's in this one. That's part of the group. So that's just kind of what happens.
I do want to just point out how hilarious it is, the idea that a side character from the car chase involving the safe was seriously impacted by that cartoon physics moment and is now swearing revenge, and it's very serious.
Yeah,
I think that's great.
They're gonna race fast cars. It's gonna be wild. I don't know how they keep getting the people to come back for these movies. I mean, I do know a lot of money, but like Charlize Theron is still in these movies, and I'm just like, really?
I'll see if my kids are interested. I mean, I'm not like dead set against it, and maybe they will enjoy it. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if like people come out of the movie this week and like constantly talk it up, I'm like, oh my god, a return to form, then suddenly I'll be like, okay, I need to prioritize this. But right now,
Yeah, right.
All right, Matt, let's move a little bit further into May. We'll move to May 26th, which is just a couple weeks away now. Actually, that's next Friday. The Little Mermaid, Disney's latest live-action adaptation of their classic animated films, is coming out. This movie's directed by Rob Marshall. I still think this looks really bad. And I am, you know this, I am a defender of the Disney live action remakes. Like I really enjoyed Aladdin. I really enjoyed most of them. Beauty and the Beast wasn't my favorite, but there was some things in there I enjoyed. Never even saw the Lion King one, so can't comment on that. But this one just looks bad. It just looks bad. And I'm really interested to see how this one performs, because it could make whole heaps of money, possibly. The Little Mermaid, very, very popular. Yeah. But I don't know. What do you think?
I mean, I think you're right. It'll make tons of money. I mean, I'm personally kind of just out on these live action remakes. I've said why before, but just like the original animated version is incredibly well done. Like they're all incredibly well done films, and whenever they've remade these movies, they always make them slower and duller and flatter and change things just for the sake of changing them. And it's like, oh, this is strictly worse in every way. And it just makes you annoyed because in your mind you're thinking about the vastly superior animated version. And I got sick of that experience pretty quickly, and I'm not going to watch any more of them.
It is really interesting that, like, in an effort to make it clear that these are, not animated, they keep going with this hyper realism with all the non-human characters, right?
Yeah.
Like Flounder is just like a fish with no personality or emotion on his face at all. And like Sebastian's just a literal crab.
Just a crab.
And I'm just like, you lose the entire charm of what the thing was.
Yeah, it's a creepy crab. I hate it. It's terrible. It's a bad idea.
Yeah, I don't get it. I mean, the same thing with the Lion King, right? Is like they don't have the personality. They don't have the warmth. It looks like a lion. Congratulations. That's a lion.
Yeah. Yep. Don't like it.
I will say, like, I think Melissa McCarthy as Ursula is pretty inspired casting, and I kind of wish the movie was better because she's the one part of it that I'm like, oh, that looks cool. But I don't know.
Yeah, Ursula is the most interesting aspect of The Little Mermaid anyway. So If anything is going to pull me into actually watching the movie, it's going to be wanting to see how they portray Ursula. Actually,
Have your kids seen the original?
I mean, they surely have, but not in forever,
Okay.
um, because we don't really watch like they're out of the age where we'd be watching that kind of stuff. So they probably watched it like 50 times when they were little, and
Hmm.
now they probably don't remember it all that well anymore.
Sure. Matt, another movie in May that I wanted to talk to you about. It's a little bit of a smaller one, but one that really like piqued my interest is the movie Blackberry. This
Yeah.
is a small indie film that I don't think is getting a wide release, but is out right now, actually. It's about the company that made the BlackBerry mobile phone. Research in Motion, RIM, this tiny little Canadian company that made a phone that took over the world in the time right before the iPhone. Did you watch the trailer for this one?
Yeah, I did.
What do you think of it?
It looks fun. I mean, it's probably reductive to say that it's, doing the social network thing or
Yeah.
the Steve Jobs thing, but it's a there's got to be a name for this kind of movie, like where it's like it's about entrepreneurs
Yeah.
be acting crazy and desperately grabbing for the you could even say it's of the same ilk as like the Wolf of Wall Street or something, where
Hmm.
it's like a
Hmm.
fall from grace type story. Yeah, I mean, it looks good. It was a good trailer. It was an entertaining trailer. It got me interested. I was thinking like this is on my list of movies that I'm actually looking forward to now that I've seen this trailer. What did you
Yeah.
think?
Yeah, I think I recognized a few people in there. There's Jay Baruchel, Glenn Howerton from Always Sunny in Philadelphia, playing a balding CEO of Research in Motion,
Uh-huh.
or I think that's the name of the company. The BlackBerry's so weird, Matt, because and the trailer kind of gets into this, and I think the movie's going to get into this too, because it is a thing that like did something that no one had done before, but it like was always really shitty at it
Uh-huh.
because none of the people were actual like designers. Like the reason why iPhone comes in and just beats the shit out of BlackBerry is because it has a team of people that actually understand design and like how to design and market things. Where like I don't know if you ever had a BlackBerry. I had a BlackBerry, like my company when I graduated in 2008 um, gave us all Blackberries, and it just like it sucked actually.
Uh-huh.
Like checking email and like using like getting on the internet, like it was just and this was the one I had was an iteration, several beyond what the original BlackBerry was. um it's like they were just a weird company that just didn't really know what to do with this thing they came up with. And I think that's a fascinating story that I'm kind of fascinated to see how
Sure.
it's dramatized in this movie.
Yeah, I never had one, but my boss did, and he was always on it. And like, it was funny because even at the time, I was like, man, I can't imagine being on a device that much. Um, he said,
But
"Re-
it wasn't even like I remember using the kind of maps app that they had on the BlackBerry, and it was just so bad. And like if you wanted to get on the internet, it was so bad. It was so awful.
yeah, I remember people being like, well, can never replace the keyboard. You got to have the keyboard."
Yeah.
It's like, no, that's
And then of course even they even showed in the trailer where Steve Jobs comes out with the Apple premiere and specifically takes a swipe at BlackBerry right away,
yeah,
and won, definitely won that one.
yeah. I'm excited about this.
Mhm. Were there any more June movies that you wanted to talk about before we move, or sorry, May, before we move on to June?
I mean, I just wanted to make a comment about like I saw the trailer for book club, the next chapter, in the theater, and like like obviously it's not marketed at me, right?
Yeah.
It's one of these older ladies movies, but it got so many laughs out of the audience. It was amusing and surprising to me. I that was my only comment for that
Yeah, I mean,
particular
this is a
movie.
sequel, right? Like the original
Yeah,
Book Club is a movie that came out a few years ago. It has just like the most amazing cast ever, right? Like just classic actors and actresses: Jane Fonda, Diane Keaton, Candice Bergen, Mary Steinberg, Don Johnson, Craig T. Nelson. Like it's just older but like superstar performers.
yeah.
And you're absolutely right. This is definitely marketed towards a generation that is older than ours. But I think these movies have their own kind of quirky charm.
Yeah. I mean, again, not for me. I'm more commenting on the level of reaction it got from the audience, and I mean, it'll
Mm-hmm.
probably be great. It'll probably be great for the people who are into that kind of thing.
Yeah, no,
Great.
I agree. I agree. I just want to point out that there's a Ben Affleck movie out right now, and yet no one knows about it because they've not marketed it at all. It's
Yeah, it's kind of a fun premise, actually.
Yeah, this is a movie called Hypnotic. It's a sci-fi thriller about a detective who inadvertently becomes entangled in a vast government conspiracy involving a series of high-profile heists when his daughter goes missing.
Sounds
Sounds cool.
sounds cool, you know. And I watched the trailer, and I thought to myself, "Wow, wonder when that comes out."
It's already out.
You told me it's already out, and then I
Yeah.
realized it was directed by Robert Rodriguez, and all of my interest in watching it disappeared.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I don't know what's up with this movie. I've read that it's not very good, but it seems weird to me that there was like no push to market this thing at all. I think Ben Affleck was like literally appearing places last week, but he was doing that as part of marketing for his wife Jennifer Lopez's movie that also just came out on Netflix last week, a movie called The Mother. So he was like helping market her movie and was not doing any marketing for the one he's in. So I don't know. It's weird. I
That is
think I
weird.
think I actually think the company that made this movie doesn't exist anymore. So that might be part of it.
Okay. Are we gonna talk about The Mother at some point?
We can if you want to.
Because that's also out on Netflix,
Yeah.
and the trailer looks like it just looks really bad. And I saw, like, the sort of autoplay thing that Netflix will do because I was looking around,
Yeah.
and that looks really bad too. So, I'm not gonna watch this movie unless you've heard something else about it that I don't know
No.
about. Okay.
Nope. I mean, Netflix does this all the time, right? They just like I think they're slowing it down, but releasing these terrible movies, but with the big stars in them. That's what they do.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then our friend Michael inexplicably likes them because that was one that like what was the one that he said that had The Rock in it? That came out a couple years ago. There was a Netflix movie that I
Was
was
it
like shocked he said was good.
was it Jungle Cruise?
No, it was like Red. It was like Code Red or something.
Yeah. I don't remember.
I don't remember what it. I see. I watched it and it's already gone out of my
Yeah.
brain.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. No, these are movies that I don't even want to have time for.
Yeah, right. Me too. Me too.
All right, so let's move into June. And the first one we have to talk about, Matt, is a movie I'm going to make you watch that you're probably not very happy about. It's the Stephen King adaptation, The Boogeyman. We've talked about this on Kingslingers before already, but I'm pretty excited about this film.
God, just the trailer stressed me out, man.
It looks remarkably well directed to scare the shit out of you.
Yeah, it looks like it's the opposite of my cup of tea in terms of how it's approaching its horror.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I guess we're gonna have to watch it. Oh well.
Yeah, we absolutely are. This is a Blumhouse production, directed by Rob Savage, who I think has done some smaller horror films before this. He did a one called Host a few years ago. Comes out June 2nd. We will definitely be seeing and talking about it.
The trailer looks very, very, very different from the short story.
It does. I mean, there's hints like I think the main character of this movie is a psychiatrist that is talking to someone who's relaying stories about the boogeyman getting his child, which, as we know, is not how the story works at all. I mean, that scene happens in the short story, but very, very differently. So I don't know. I think it's going to like borrow the premise and then just do its own thing, I would guess.
Yeah, I think so.
All right. The other big one on June 2nd is the sequel to one of the best animated films I've ever watched, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. What do you think about this, Matt?
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to it. I love the first one.
Mm-hmm.
Not too complicated on this. The trailer itself looks really intriguing. and dramatic and fun.
Yeah.
It looks a bit more serious than the first one. At least that's what the trailer looks like. You can really tell. That's just how they're choosing to, market it.
Yeah.
Do you get that vibe?
Yes and no. I mean, I think so. I mean, it looks very, very silly. But I think the trailers are kind of hyping up the more serious moments. I mean, if you remember, the first movie had its serious moments in it for
Sure.
sure.
Yeah.
Um, so it seems like maybe the trailer's just pushing those a little bit more. It's interesting because I think this was originally like they were doing the thing like this was part one of a two-part thing, like it was Into the Spider-Verse part one, and they've dropped the part one from this movie. I don't know if that means that they changed their strategy up and this is going to be a complete movie, or it's really just going to be a setup for another movie. I don't know. I'm a little worried about that part of it. But
Huh.
now the animation still looks really great. I love this style so much. We have another movie we'll be talking about coming out in August that also clearly loved the style very much. Um, and I'm excited to see it. I'm excited to see how it does. I think this is really interesting because the first movie was basically like uniformly beloved. Everyone that saw this movie loved it. And it did okay money, right? It made $190 million in the US, which for an animated film is pretty good. But for a Spider-Man movie, it isn't that great. So I'm really interested. This could be one that ends up doing Marvel numbers in an animated film, which would be really cool to see.
Yeah. I mean, since everyone who saw the first one probably loved it and then
Mhm.
gave positive word of mouth, that might mean that the sequel is going to do even better.
Yeah,
We'll see.
we will see. Excited to see that one, June 2nd. But now we have to move to the triumphant return of the Transformers. They've taken a little bit of a hiatus since Michael Bay's last film and then a Bumblebee spin-off film, but they're back, Matt. Transformers Rise of the Beasts comes out June 9th. I don't know how to feel about this. I think so. My understanding of this is that this is a sequel to Bumblebee, which is the spinoff that was not that did not involve Michael Bay at all. That took place in when did Bumblebee take place? I think it took place in the 80s.
Yeah, I think so.
And I think this movie takes place in the 90s. So it's a period piece Transformers movie. But this one is bringing in the Beast Wars cartoon series, which for people that grew up in the 90s was like the Transformers thing that everyone watched. How interested in this movie are you?
Man, just like nothing about this trailer looks appealing to me.
Uh-uh.
It
Uh-uh.
just looks very stupid and boring. And like all of the stuff that people are excited about is just stuff that I'm no longer capable of being excited about because it's like just pointless, passionless action and smashing. Um,
Yeah.
so it's probably going to be great if you're within a certain age bracket, but I'm just not. I'm just not there for it.
Yeah, and I really liked the Haley Steinfeld 2018 Bumblebee movie. I think that was a much smaller movie. Haley Steinfeld as an actress is someone I really, really enjoy. This seems like it's trying to build off of that while also just calling you back to the Michael Bay films, but without Michael Bay. And like I've seen
Yeah.
people online say that's a good thing and be like, "Oh, look how smooth and easy to see the action is." And I'm like, "No."
Uh-huh.
I actually like when Michael Bay makes shitty looking movies that actually are wonderful because he just goes balls to the wall and it's great. I think this movie is missing Michael Bay actually.
Yeah,
Um,
right. It just makes it look artificial, right? It makes
yeah,
it look.
yeah,
It reminds you when it's all so smooth and choreographed. You're just reminded that you're watching a movie, and it just makes it into a cartoon. Except that's almost like um unfair to cartoons
yeah,
because cartoons can actually have quite nice, you know, uh, evolution of action on the screen in ways that are actually dramatic and not just like totally flat and boring. And
yeah.
yeah, it doesn't look good. Doesn't look good.
Do you
I
think
don't
this
know.
movie's gonna make a lot of money? This is one of the ones that I'm like, this could bomb. Like I don't know what the public's appetite for Transformers is anymore. Like this was $1 billion franchise, right? The Michael Bay movies made just heaps and heaps and heaps of money, and I just don't know if anyone cares about these movies anymore.
Yeah, I don't know who was going to see the Transformer movies, to be honest. So I
A
can't
lot of
really answer
people.
your question. I mean, clearly people were. Like this is one where I'm kind of curious to ask my kids, just try to be as neutral as possible and be like, "Hey, how does that Transformers movie look to you?" Um, and see if see if they were like, "Oh, it looks awesome, looks so
Yeah.
fun," because it could just be that I'm not the target of the marketing.
Yeah, the Bumblebee movie from 5 years ago, went ahead and made, $467 million worldwide, which
Uh-huh.
is
Okay.
pretty good. It's not the billion-dollar movie that the earlier Transformers movies were, but that Bumblebee movie also had a much smaller budget. It was only 135 million, as compared to the 250 plus that the Bay movies cost. So, they're pretty happy with that return, and obviously enough to try again. But then they've done the weird thing that Hollywood always seems to do, is like, oh, we made a decent amount of money on our smaller budget film, so let's spend more,
Yeah.
and then we'll make more, right?
Right. Let's throw away all of our profit. Yeah, I mean, basically, I don't know, man.
But we could be
It's
totally wrong, and we could be totally underestimating the the Beast Wars draw, because I know there's a lot of people our age that were really really into that cartoon, and maybe they're very excited to see the gorilla machine. I don't know.
you're probably right. The gorilla in the trailer was the kind of thing that was utterly meaningless to me, and in fact, kind of stupid. And there's probably tons of people out there who were like, "Oh my god, it's Gorillatron." Or, I don't even know
Gorilla
his name.
I don't know his name either. Optimus Prime, but a gorilla,
Yeah, yeah.
I think is his role.
The thing about the trailer that always sticks in my head is that one of the CGI voices is going, "You'll face a challenge greater than anything you've ever faced in your past or future." And you're like, "Wait, how do you know? How do you know what he'll face in his future? Is it
Because
because this
it's
is meant to happen in the 90s and you and you know that
because
the
we have to
rest of the
build stakes and be like, no, no, he gets through this one just fine.
yeah, but this one's it was a harder fight than even the fights that he has later in the later movies.
The ones where he dies.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Okay, let's move on.
Okay.
Let's talk about Elemental. This is the new Pixar movie that is coming out June 16th. Um, this is helmed by Peter San, who is the man who directed The Good Dinosaur, largely considered like the least successful Pixar movie ever.
Mhm.
What did you think of this trailer?
I mean, I'm pretty much always in on Pixar, and I thought
Same.
it was a good trailer. It's interestingly like it feels like it's targeting me more than it's targeting my kids in terms of demographic marketing type stuff. Um, but I don't really have any developed thoughts on it. I kind of just see Pixar and I hand them my money at this point.
Yeah, and I'm gonna do the same too. And I think like it looks fantastic. Like the just to get technically nerdy for a bit, like the fire effects and the water effects. Like you can tell this is classic Pixar. Let's make our lives as hard as possible
Yeah,
in
yeah.
making this movie, um, and that looks amazing. I can say that like at least in this trailer, there's nothing in the story that's necessarily hooked me yet. And I know like I'm gonna end up seeing it, and I bet I will enjoy the story. But like, there's not a hook here that I'm like, oh yeah, this is exactly what I want to be watching. I don't know why either.
Yeah. I think it seems like Pixar has moved toward doing sort of smaller focused stories. Like
Mm-hmm.
Soul strikes me as one where like Soul is just not something that you can market in a way where it's like, "Oh, you gotta see this.
Sure,
This is
sure.
gonna be great." It's like, no, it's like a quiet it's sort of Soul, much like jazz, um, the genre of music is hard to sell because it's like, I don't know, you just kinda have to give it a shot and it'll grow on you. Um And I think that that's this the same can be said for The Good Dinosaur, where it's like it's this very specific story, and it's actually very like sad, and so it doesn't surprise me at all that it didn't make a lot of money. But
Yeah.
I really like that they're doing this.
Yeah.
I like this kind of thing. I'm glad that this exists.
I am a good dinosaur defender, 100%. I enjoyed that movie. I totally see the problems that people had with it. And I do think there's this weird disconnect between the photorealistic everything else and then the obviously cartoony dinosaurs. But yeah, I like that they were trying something. I will take 1,000 elementals over them continually making Cars movies and Toy Story movies and stuff like that, that I feel like Disney is forcing them to do. So I am totally in on this. I do think it's interesting that, like, I guess I was expecting to boot up a Pixar trailer and like the story to immediately hook and pull me in, and that just hasn't happened for me.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah. I guess what I'm saying is that that hasn't happened to me for the last few movies, but and yet
Yeah.
they've just sold me that it kind of doesn't matter. It's like, well, okay, whatever. I'll,
Yeah.
I'll see it anyway.
That, I mean,
Um,
that's true. I'm thinking about that. I think Soul never pulled me in like that for sure. I feel like Onward did. That is a movie like I watched that concept and I was like, oh yeah, I'm in on this. This is
mhm,
gonna be great.
sure.
I'm trying to decide if Luca did or not. And I'm not really sure.
Yeah, I don't think it. I don't think it pulled me in. In fact, I think I was like super unaware of its existence, actually. So
Mhm.
I don't know what to make of that.
Well, the most important thing is that this movie is being shown in theaters because the CEO of Disney that decided that all Pixar films are just going to be straight to Disney Plus releases got fired. so
All right.
so they're putting them back in theaters again.
Nice.
Yep.
Total tangent, but we put on Toy Story 1 the other day, which I haven't seen in forever, and I was just like surprised at how petty and mean Woody is in that movie, which is
Uh-huh.
of course the plot of the movie, right? It's like he's the one who has to have an arc of kind of putting his ego in check. But
Yeah.
I had just forgotten how poorly Woody comes off in that movie.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I feel like I'm going to be watching and studying that movie very closely because it is in many ways a movie about um, introducing a new child into a
Yes,
home, and that is exactly what my wife and I are going to be doing here in a few months.
absolutely.
Yeah. All right, Matt. Let's move on to The Flash. June 16th, the Andy Muschietti directed Flash movie starring Ezra Miller, Michael Keaton returning as Batman. We've talked about this movie in the past before. We've talked about how some of these trailers crushed my soul. What was your take on The Flash? Are you excited for this movie?
I don't think I'm excited because I kind of agree with you that it looks like it's just mashing its palm onto the nostalgia keyboard
Yeah.
and just trying to hit everything, and it just feels very cynical.
Hmm.
But at the same time, I don't know, man. Like just before we sat down, I saw a tweet from none other than Stephen King saying that he had seen an early screen of this movie and that he liked it and thought it had heart and that it wasn't like all the other superhero movies that it was a remarkably positive take.
Mm.
So maybe that's totally correct. Maybe it's a good, well made action film with heart and uh, all of the nostalgia bait will turn out to have been in service of something really worthwhile.
I honestly hope so. And
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, it very much seems like the way Warner Brothers is kind of marketing this movie, the way they're talking about this movie, it very much seems like they have a lot of confidence in how it's going to do. They think they've got something really, really big and really, really good here, and they're treating it as such. And so I think it's going to probably end up doing well. I think it's it's a very interesting idea to not only bring in Michael Keaton, but then also to bring Mike. They got Michael Shannon back to reprise his role from the original Man of Steel movie. Hell, even Ben Affleck is probably going to be in a few scenes of this. So, I mean, it is being like also marketed as the inflection point of what the DC is going to be from here on out. Like, I think James Gunn has kind of specifically said that like this is the movie that is going to kind of set the stage for what what they're going to be doing going forward, which makes a lot of sense because it's building off the Flashpoint idea from the comics, in which they basically reset the universe. So are we going to see a universe reset thing here? Is that how we're handling it? I don't know. I don't even care about that stuff anymore. I am hopeful that it is just a good movie that tells a good story.
There's something delightful to the 9-year-old that lives inside my heart about the idea that they're going to intentionally say that, Batman 1990 is part of this universe,
Mm-hmm.
and it's all just a matter of like, oh, well, time travel shenanigans. Michael Keaton totally was actually Batman in the same universe that we're going to continue on forward with, and Christopher Reeve really was Superman,
Mm-hmm.
and like that. I know it's in some senses kind of stupid, but like I it makes it all feel more meaningful when you feel like this is genuinely one continuing story. And I guess, if you're gonna play in the time travel sandbox, it's like you might as well do that. I mean, they just did the same thing for the Spider-Man thing. So like, and I made basically the
Yeah.
same comment then, where it was like, I genuinely think it's kind of neat that Tobey Maguire Spider-Man is part of the MCU now through the magic of purchasing film rights and then making a movie where he shows up,
Yeah, and you're so right. That film was just hitting the nostalgia button over and over again too, and we loved it. And the reason
Yeah.
we loved it is because a movie that had a lot of heart to it, that was not just using these characters as a jumping off point to get people into seats, but actually interested in telling us a meaningful story with them. And maybe that's exactly what we're going to do here. When I see Michael Keaton stand up there at 70 something years old and say, "You want to get nuts? Let's get nuts." I die a little bit inside, just a
Uh-huh.
little bit.
Yeah, yeah. That's definitely pandering, but maybe in that moment in the movie, you'll have tears streaming down your face with authentic joy and love.
I hope
Um,
so. I nothing would make me happier than that being true.
yeah,
All right, Matt. Also June 16th is a movie called Extraction 2. This is going to go direct to Netflix. This is a Chris Hemsworth movie that was directed by Sam Hargrave. This is a sequel to a movie that came out at the very beginning of the pandemic. I think this came out literally in March of 2020, and it was a direct to Netflix movie, and people really liked it. And perhaps part of the reason people really liked it was because we were all stuck inside and there were no new movies coming out. And here's one we could watch on our couch while we're not getting COVID. But also, I think it's just a very well done action film. So,
yeah,
are you excited for Extraction 2? I know you liked the first one as well.
yeah. I did. I liked it. I liked what it was trying to do. I liked the style of it. I liked the story of it. I liked Chris Hemsworth in it. The trailer of this one it's almost overwhelming. It's like the trailer is just like a 3-minute action scene basically.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think I'm down for this. I'm excited about this.
Possibly dumb question. Been 3 years. Didn't he die at the end of the last movie?
Well, I guess mild spoilers for a movie that's not really about the plot. Um, he gets like shot several times in the last movie, and then
Doesn't he fall off a bridge?
he falls off a bridge, and then what happens is the boy who he saved is like swimming, and then he like gets out of the pool, and then it shows there's like a figure sitting by the pool, which is slightly out of focus, but is definitely Chris Hemsworth. So it's meant to be like, oh, did he survive? But it's unclear, right?
I guess it's
Um,
clear now.
and now it's like, yeah, he did. He's fine.
That's what happens when you make sequels to these movies.
Yeah.
Is Deckard a replicant? Well, we made a sequel, so
Well, actually, they somehow kept that ambiguous.
okay, bad example. Bad example.
But yes, it's
Yeah.
because I kind of like the ambiguity of the end of the movie, because it's like really implausible that he would have lived based on what happened, but you're like, well, I just want him to live,
Yeah, yeah. Matt, also on June 16th, Wes Anderson has a new film. This is a movie called Asteroid City. It is another movie similar to the last one he did, where there was going to be a series of interlocking stories. Um, the way this is described as um, interlocking stories of the organizers and attendees of a junior stargazer convention held in a fictional town. It stars everyone you're used to seeing in a Wes Anderson movie, along with a bunch of new people. Scarlett Johansson is in this movie. I don't think she's been in one before. Bryan Cranston, I know he was in the stop motion dog one, but he's never been live action in a Wes Anderson movie. I mean, I obviously we're very excited about this. Like,
Right.
it's Wes Anderson. We're gonna see it.
Right. Yeah. I don't know. It looks really interesting. It's hard to figure out what's going on from the trailer.
Sure.
Just speaking of it as a trailer, and setting aside the fact that we're obviously going to see it and we're excited about it. Like, it's one of the trailers where it's what, like, generally you can sort of tell what the premise is for a Wes Anderson movie, and for this one I think I've seen two different trailers for this movie, and I'm still like, I don't really understand what the premise is. I mean, you just said the premise, but at the same time I have no idea, like what's the story, you
I don't
know?
know. Yeah.
Right. So whatever, it's fine. I'm gonna love it. It's gonna be one of my favorite movies of all time. It's fine.
This is actually one of two Wes Anderson movies that's coming out in 2023. I don't know if you knew that. We're getting two.
No, I did not. What's the other one?
The other one, I knew you were going to ask me that, and I was trying to pull it up because I didn't remember the name of it. The other one is a movie, a motion picture called The Wonderful Story of Henry Sugar. It's a Roald Dahl adaptation.
Yes, I knew I recognized that title. Okay, cool.
That is coming out in the fall. We don't know much about that at all.
Cool.
Maybe it won't end up coming out in. It's saying expected in 2023. It's in post production right now. But
awesome.
Yeah. So yeah, not much more to say. I agree with you. The Wes Anderson is really leaning into the type of storytelling he's been doing in the last few movies, where it is kind of very difficult to tell, especially in a trailer, like what's going on here. That The French Dispatch, I think, was a movie that we really, really liked. I really enjoyed a whole lot, but like the trailer was like, what is this?
Yeah. It's almost like it's three movies in one that are barely connected.
Mm-hmm. All right, keeping it rolling. This is a very, very stuffed summer, Matt. I want to talk about a movie called No Hard Feelings. This movie comes out June 23rd. It is a Jennifer Lawrence movie, and it is, honest to God, a sex comedy released by a major studio in the year 2023. I can't believe it. I didn't think these things existed anymore, but here it is, and it looks delightful.
We're so back. America is back. No, it does. It looks really funny. It's so, you know, you and I watched like 47 trailers today to prepare, and this was the only one that got not just one, but I think two good laughs out of me. So I'm definitely excited about this.
Yeah, I mean, it's so wonderful to me that like Jennifer Lawrence, this Academy Award winning actress, has done like all these super serious, super dramatic David O. Russell movies back to back to back to back. You know, she has a child, takes a few years off of acting, and then wants to come back. And what does she want to do when she comes back? She wants to be in an R-rated sex comedy. And I'm like, good for you. I'm so glad. I'm so glad she made this choice. I'm so excited about it.
Yeah, it looks great. It looks very fun. It's a good, it's a fun premise for a comedy, I guess. Like, just everything about the trailer was just like, yes, this is on the right track.
Yeah, that's a good point. We should say the premise of this movie is Jennifer Lawrence is playing an Uber driver who gets her car impounded and sees an ad on Craigslist for a car. Parents are looking to educate their socially awkward son before he heads off to college, and so they hire her to hang out with him, sleep with him is the the heavy implication of this movie, and that's kind of our setup for the movie. I mean, it's one of those things where like you could sit down here and probably write out every major plot beat of this movie right now. Right. You'd kind of know exactly how it's going to go, but that doesn't matter because it just looks so fun and funny.
Exactly.
I'm really into it. The guy that directed this, a man named Gene Stupinski, also directed a movie in 2019 called Good Boys, which was a movie about three, I think, like sixth grade kids. That like it was a rated R movie starring these little kids that was basically just hilarious because Jacob Tremblay is allowed to say fuck a whole bunch of times, and that was really really funny.
Perfect.
And so it's the same vein as this movie, I think, and I'm looking forward to it for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I've always known that Jennifer Lawrence is a good actor, but like the I don't know that I've ever really seen her in a straight comedy, and just that those were all the laughs that I got that the trailer got out of me was like her delivery on certain.
She's very funny. Yeah. She is very funny, and she hasn't. You're right. She hasn't gotten a lot of opportunities to just do straight comedy.
Yeah.
And I'm glad. Great career decision, Jennifer. I'm so happy for you. I can't wait to watch this movie.
Yeah, me too.
All right, on June 30th, Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. This is the James Mangold directed sequel to I guess it's the fifth one. Yeah, it's the fifth Indiana Jones film. I'm so cautious about this movie, Matt. I of course nobody liked the fourth one. Me being part of that nobody. I don't know how to feel about this movie at all.
I think I've said before I'm just not excited about it. I'm so done with these. I think I just have a bad taste in my mouth from the last movie and from like the attempts to milk all the nostalgia of Star Wars, which has been predominantly unsuccessful with a few bright spots here and there. And nothing, and I guess I'll further say nothing about the trailer suggests to me that this is going to be one of those exceptions that makes me bite my tongue. It just looks very, the trailer reminds me so much of the trailer for the Crystal Skull, where it's like, that's how you would do that to play on my nostalgia. And I've said before that I suspect they're going to do a time travel thing and they're going to try to really crank the nostalgia dial, and we're going to go back and we're going to see the Ark of the Covenant, and we're going to see the Holy Grail, and we're going to see Elsa, and it's just going to drag us through all that, and I'm just like, okay, I don't know.
Very possible. Yeah. I agree with everything you just said there. I think counterpoint, James Mangold is directing this movie, who directed Logan and Ford versus Ferrari, two very good movies. Logan especially, I think, is the closest analog for this, a movie about an aging superhero, essentially.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think he's a good director that I think could make a very intriguing movie. The other is Phoebe Waller-Bridge, who plays the co-star in this movie that I think is supposed to be his daughter-in-law or a niece. I'm not sure. I am a big fan of Phoebe Waller-Bridge. I really like her as a writer and an actor. I think she's phenomenal, and that's the stuff that's got me excited about this movie. The other thing is Harrison Ford. I just watched him in a show, an Apple show called Shrinking. It was with what's his name, Jason Segel, and him play psychiatrists that share office space, and he's phenomenal in it. Like,
okay.
Harrison Ford has still got it, is what I'll say. Like, he's got it. And yeah, he's an old man. It's not moving as fast. I think some of this trailer stuff of where you like, obviously, like, this is not Harrison Ford that's running down this action sequence. This is someone else. But man, does he still got it. He's funny. He's charismatic. He's still kicking ass. And so that's one of the things, like, I was not as excited. And then I watched Shrinking, which was a pretty good show that he's just amazing in. And so I don't know. It could go either way on this one for me. I mean, it could be really great. It could be the thing you leave the theater saying, yes, this is the last Indiana Jones movie. This was the one to end it on. They did it. Or it could be like, they stop it. Please stop it. And I don't know. I don't know.
Okay. All right. You've made me mildly more hopeful.
Okay. Let's move to July, unless there was anything in June else you wanted to talk about.
No, that's okay. Let's do it.
All right. July 12th, Matt. Mission Impossible, Dead Reckoning, Part 1. The worst name ever. Just call it Dead Reckoning and then call the next movie something else.
Yeah, they've all been sequels to each other. Why? Yeah, why do that?
This is of course the Christopher McQuarrie Mission Impossible movie. I am so excited about this fucking movie, Matt.
Yeah.
I have really been a fan of the Mission Impossible movies the last few years, and the success of Top Gun Maverick has only like reinvigorated my absolute adoration of Tom Cruise as the last remaining superstar. He's it. He's all we got. He's the last one, and he's keeps doing this crazy shit that I know is just going to be so much fun. I cannot wait. I think this is the movie of the summer for me. I really do.
Yeah, I watched a little special on the big motorcycle stunt, and that got me pretty hype. So yeah, I nothing to add to what you said. I've been enjoying all these Mission Impossible movies, and it's a good trailer. It looks fun. So yeah,
it's got. I mean, we got Ving Rhames coming back. Simon Pegg's still here. Rebecca Ferguson's still here. Haley Atwell is joining the cast. Sure. I don't know how that's going to fit in, but she's here.
All right.
Apparently the woman who plays Mantis is going to be in this movie. So I'm just here for it. I'm here for all of it. It's great.
Yeah, me too.
Weird Tom Cruise doing awesome shit.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Do you think it's going to be hurt at all by the ridiculous name?
No.
It's the least cool sounding name ever.
No, I do not. I think there's a lot of people really like these movies.
Yeah. Do you think this gets a bump from Top Gun?
Yeah, I think so. I think it maybe there were people who were not in on the high quality of the recent Mission Impossible movies, and then they saw Top Gun, and then they thought, "Oh man, I love Tom Cruise.
Mm-hmm.
I will go see that man do anything." And then they realize that that's how star power works, and then they go see this movie.
Yeah, I mean, the last Mission Impossible, Fallout, the one that came out all the way back in 2018, was the highest grossing one in the franchise's history. It made $791 million. The Mission Impossible series, considering how long it's been going on, it's never been like a huge moneymaker, right? That 682 was the last one. It's steadily been climbing, which is always good, right? You always want your ongoing movie franchise to be making more money than the last one.
Right.
Fast and the Furious not happening that way. I think this is going to be the first one to break $1 billion. I do. Top Gun Maverick broke $1 billion. And I think it's going to benefit from that. I think the only thing that could hurt it is that this is an absolutely stacked summer. There's so much coming out. We've already talked about it. And there are 2 movies coming out right after this one that I think are going to bring a lot of people to the theater as well. So it's got a lot of competition.
Okay. Yeah. Well, that's always something to keep in mind for sure. Yeah. That can be a huge factor, unfortunately. Yeah. I mean, I would just expect it to do really well, though. I mean, I'm definitely going to go see it in theaters, like specifically. So.
All right, Matt. July 21st. 2023. 2 movies coming out this weekend. 2 enormous movies. We have Oppenheimer and Barbie. We have 2 directors. One of the most acclaimed, beloved, fascinating auteurs that we've seen in recent years. The other, Christopher Nolan.
It's good.
All right. So, which of these 2 do you want to talk about first?
Oh gosh, I don't know. Let's just take Barbie first. I mean, I have relatively little to say about Barbie. The trailer looks absolutely perplexing and intriguing, and I can't tell. Like, is this gonna be something my daughter's gonna enjoy, or is it gonna be a weird, like referential piece of surrealist art?
What a great question, to which there is absolutely no answer.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think probably the latter, honestly. That's what it seems like, and that's what it seems like Greta Gerwig would be most interested in doing. It is a rather confounding trailer. One of the things that I'm so fascinated about this movie is we just don't really know what it is. Like my wife has been telling me, since she saw like the first little bit of a teaser trailer, she's like, "Oh, this is a musical. It's going to be a full blown movie musical," and like I still don't know if she's right or wrong yet.
Uh-huh.
It seems like it does have some sequences in it that would have singing and dancing, but just having one dancing sequence in your movie doesn't make you a musical. It seems like they're going to go to the real world at some point. Um, but yeah, but I think the question of who is this for is a really good one, and the question is who is this going to attract and who's going to come out and see this movie? Because like, is Barbie still relevant to kids these days?
Well, I'll tell you, my daughter wants to see it, but I'm
Okay.
not sure if she knows that there's a high chance that it's going to be a piece of dataist. I don't know how to say that word actually. Deconstruction of the form of film. Um, so, so I don't. Short answer: girls these days do know about Barbie and they want to see Barbie. So
Okay. Okay. But are they like if like a little girl that like loves playing with her Barbies says, "Yes, mommy, take me to the Barbie movie," is she is she going to be disappointed, and is her mother going to be angry? I think maybe. This is the wild thing about this movie is like I'm so glad that it's getting to be made, and like I'm so happy that they picked Greta Gerwig to do this, and she like Greta Gerwig and Margot Robbie and Ryan Gosling. It's like a match made in heaven for me. But yeah, it's like what are they expecting out of this?
yeah, I mean, it's entirely possible that I'll take her and then I'll end up enjoying it far more than she does. So
I don't know.
win-win, one way or the other.
We will see. We will see.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about Christopher Nolan. Um,
I
Go ahead.
I feel like this movie is gonna be the stuff that annoys you about Christopher Nolan. I feel like there's no room for it in a biopic about Oppenheimer, so you're probably gonna like it. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, yeah. I
Because
think that's fair.
I think
I mean, like,
I think what you don't like it, but to speak for you entirely and interrupt you, um, I think what you don't like about Christopher Nolan is actually his writing. I, and this is a biopic, so
true.
he can only screw it up so much, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think if you want to know what I don't like about Christopher Nolan, I think you just watch the movie Tenet, and that is the movie that encapsulates basically everything I don't like about Christopher Nolan.
Yeah,
While also simultaneously being a fascinating movie that I really enjoyed watching, even
yeah,
though I just think it is all his worst tendencies brought to bear. I think you're right. It's so fascinating to me that this is the next story he wanted to tell. And we talked about this already a little bit, so I won't reiterate what I said there, but I'm just like, this is like one of the most important events in the history of mankind being told here. And like, it's not that I don't believe Christopher Nolan has the chops to tell the story, because I certainly think he does. But like, I don't know, one thing that I think Nolan struggles with time is the emotionality of stuff. Like I've just never bought into, I find his movies very, very cold, and the movies that work on me the least are the ones that try to make it a movie all about something, some powerful emotion. Like the reason I don't like Interstellar, it's because it's a movie that's talking to me about the power of love, and I just never felt any of that while watching that movie. Um, and so this one that's getting down to like one of the most fundamental crises of our age of, was this a good thing that we did or not? What have we done? And I'm worried that the movie will completely fail to capture the emotional resonance of that whole thing.
yeah. I mean, part of the problem with all of them is that people can't shut up for 5 seconds and just let the emotions actually sit with you.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and that's totally a mistake that he could continue with this movie and have Oppenheimer monologuing over what would otherwise be an incredibly powerful shot of the atom bomb blowing up or something like that.
Hmm.
I wouldn't put it past Nolan, but I don't think this bothers me as much as it bothers you. So I'm sort of certain that I'm going to like this movie actually, although I think it may very well have the problems that you identify here.
I am absolutely certain that the movie will be wonderfully shot and poorly sound mixed. Is what I'm certain about.
Yeah, yeah, you're right.
I think it's pretty fascinating that he cast Josh Hartnett in this movie, and he cast that guy from that Nickelodeon show Drake and Josh is in this movie.
Fascinating.
Yeah, he's just pulling all these people in.
He's got Robert Downey Jr. He's
got
so many
Damon,
people.
Cillian Murphy, Emily Blunt. This is a stacked cast. Absolutely stacked cast.
Yeah. You know the part where the Green Goblin blows his way through the wall of Aunt May's house while she's praying. So somebody tweeted like, "This is people watching Barbie in the theater next to Oppenheimer."
I do think it's absolutely wild that these two movies are coming out on the same weekend. Like, I think it's like, imagine the double feature that is Barbie and Oppenheimer.
Yeah. We should do that.
Let's do it. Let's fucking do it.
We should both set aside our Saturday.
How surreal will that be? So in that scenario, which comes first? Which should you see before the other?
Barbie
first. So you go from Barbie into Oppenheimer. I like it.
Yeah. You want to,
or you could do it the reverse way, and then going into Barbie, this is what the world has wrought. Actually, Mr. Oppenheimer.
I feel like you'd end up in a better mood if you watched Oppenheimer first and then Barbie second. So maybe that would be better.
Yeah, probably. All right. So the rest of July is a little interesting. There's a movie, Disney is making a Haunted Mansion sequel that is like has an absolutely stacked cast, but I couldn't even finish the trailer. I just paused it halfway through and I'm like, nope. Nuh-uh.
Oh my God, I had the same experience. That was like one of the few trailers where I was like, this is nothing.
Yeah.
This is not a trailer. This is an ad for a ride.
But like when you look at the cast, right? Like Rosario Dawson, like Keith Stanfield, Tiffany Haddish, Owen Wilson, Danny DeVito, Jamie Lee Curtis, Jared Leto. Like, but holy shit.
None of them are doing anything in the trailer. They're
just there.
Yeah. It looks like, it looks stupid. Sorry.
It's really disappointing too, because this is directed by a director named Justin Simeon, who made a movie called Dear White People in 2014 that it's a comedy. It's very, very, very funny. I thought it was great, and I think that was his first movie, and it's like, oh, look at this director, and he has such a distinct voice and style, and it's really exciting, and what's he going to do with his career? And it's like 9 years later, he's making a Haunted Mansion movie for Disney. It's like, I mean, get your money, man, for sure, but it's a bummer.
Yeah. Oh well.
All right, so let's move into August, where we have Meg 2, The Trench, coming out on August 4th. Did you ever see the first movie, Meg, the Jason Statham movie?
I did not. I kind of saw the trailer and then I imagined something in my head and felt like I had seen it.
Which would be a very fair exercise. I enjoyed it. For what it was. It's a silly movie that kind of knows it's a silly movie, and Jason Statham is having a lot of fun. The weird thing about this movie is this sequel is directed by Ben Wheatley, who is a British director who directed like tiny little weird indie movies like High Rise and Free Fire, that is now directing this. If you saw the movie High Rise, and then said that guy is going to direct a shark blockbuster movie, it's the weirdest choice in the world.
Interesting.
It's High Rise is based off a J.G. Ballard novel, and now he's making the Meg 2 The Trench.
Well, I admire people who are willing to take risks.
I guess I like that's part of what makes me so curious about it, actually, is like, certainly besides the money, there must have been something that Ben Wheatley said, yes, this is where I want my career to go. I want to make a giant shark movie with Jason Statham.
Maybe
what could it possibly be?
I mean, so I think a certain type of person just wants to make a fun movie that's going to make people happy.
Yeah, no, that's very fair. All right. The next movie I want to talk about comes out on August 4th as well, and it's the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie. Matt, this was the one I referenced earlier when talking about Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. This is clearly a movie that was made based off that success, and it looks pretty good, actually.
Yeah. I mean, I Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles was probably my first fandom or thing that I loved and
Mm-hmm.
adored. And I was super into the video games and the cartoons and the films. Um, so there's always a special place in my heart for it. I mean, I haven't watched I haven't watched all the like recent attempts at it, but
No,
this
me
is one of
neither.
the few ones that makes me think like, and plus my kids are old enough now that I'll bother actually taking them to the theater. Whereas with the previous couple of iterations, it just hasn't been something that I thought they would like at the
Yeah.
ages they were at.
Well, the two Michael Bay ones, I think, were just not good.
Yeah, they look kind of not like they kind of missed the point. They were doing
Yeah.
something weird.
Uh-huh. And I'm excited about this. Not too much more to say other than like this could end up being like really really good actually.
Yeah, I agree.
So moving through it, we have God. There's actually a lot in August, Matt. Looking through this, August is usually like the tail end of everything, but there's a lot in here. Anything else in
Okay.
August you wanted to talk about?
Let me see real
I guess we could talk
quick.
about our old buddy Neil Blomkamp, who is somehow allowed to direct movies still.
Yeah, he's making that racing movie.
He's making Gran Turismo, which I thought was just a video game adaptation, but it's not. It turns out it's a story. It's based on a true story of a gamer who played the video game Gran Turismo, and he was so good at it that he got the opportunity to become an actual race car driver.
Yeah.
It's a true story of this kid, and I'm like, okay, I'm interested,
Yeah.
but also I have a hate relationship with Mr. Neil Blomkamp.
You know, so okay. Um, do I want to do this? Do I want to put my
Oh no,
critical reputation on the line here?
oh no.
The thing about Neil Blomkamp is that he made a really good movie that everybody liked.
Mm-hmm.
And then people said, "Here's a giant pile of money! Quick, make another one! Make another good movie! Go, 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 go!" And he tried, and it wasn't up to it because that's a lot to ask of a guy. And he did a bad job. And then the same thing basically happened again, except it was even worse because I think he was trying to, you know, be artistic or something.
He was
And
trying to get his friends from the South African rap band some work.
yeah, I mean, that to me just read like he was having a mental breakdown and he made Chappie. But so like it's been like almost 15 years since he made District 9, so I think he's just sort of allowed we can allow him a second chance at this point, I would say. The other thing I'll say is that my kids seem to respond really well to this trailer. I
Interesting.
suspect because they play video games and the idea of a kid who plays video games real good and then gets to be a race car driver appeals to them in a very direct way. Um, so maybe kids will want to see this movie
All
and
right.
it'll do well.
All right.
Yeah.
No, I like it. I like it. I'm not. I can't allow myself to be too excited to go see it because I'm interested to see the Blomkamp tendencies and where they're gonna come into this movie. But we'll see.
I'm gonna pull an Anton Ego and I'm gonna destroy my reputation defending this movie.
There's another movie that comes out on the 11th of August called The Last Voyage of the Demeter.
I say Demeter, but I don't
Yeah.
know.
This movie was directed by Andre Overdahl, which, by the way, Matt, on our podcast Kingslingers this week, when I was trying to remember the name of the director that was rumored to be making a Long Walk adaptation, that's just who it is. Andre Overdahl, who made a movie called Troll Hunter and then a horror film called The Autopsy of Jane Doe, which is one of my favorite horror films of the last 10 years. Really, really loved that movie. This is an adaptation of Bram Stoker's Dracula, or specifically it is an adaptation of the 1 chapter long section of Bram Stoker's Dracula in which Dracula is being shipped over to London on the Demeter, and it doesn't go well on that ship, and that's that's what this movie's about.
Yeah, I can't say that the trailer hooked me, but it'll probably be fine.
Yeah, I mean, I think my interest in it is solely around a director that I enjoyed. I mean, I guess it's an interesting concept of like, you read Dracula and you're like, oh yeah, there's a story here. Sort of, I guess. They're obviously gonna have to beef it up because the story in the book is just like they all died. The end.
Yeah. No, I mean, I'm sure it'll be fun. It's just like, just honestly reporting that I'm probably not going to make time to see it unless I hear amazing things.
Yeah, no, totally fair. The last movie I want to talk about comes out on August 18th. It's called Blue Beetle. It's another superhero movie. And like, this is another one. As I'm staring here looking at my list with the trailers open in front of me, I can see that I did not finish the trailer because that red line is halfway through the video. I just like there's nothing for me here. There's absolutely nothing. Like not a bit of this like looked interesting or exciting at all for me.
Well, to me it looks like they made a Xerox of the Shazam script and then they changed Shazam to Blue Beetle, and then they changed Magic to Sci-Fi Bug, which you could say is like you're just making a generic point about how all or a large proportion of superheroes are like young person unexpectedly receives power from supernatural source. Okay, fair criticism. I hear you, but it tonally seems like they're going for the same thing as the Shazam movie as well.
Yeah,
and it looks kind of played out at this point.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Maybe it'll end up being great.
Yeah.
It was one of those ones that when James Gunn is talking about his plan for DC, he was he was like, yeah, so we got the Flash, and it's like the best, like the best. It's the best one we've ever done. Like, or I'm so excited about the Flash, and then also later this year, Blue Beetle's gonna come out.
Yeah, Blue Beetle will be there also. Yes.
Yeah. I don't know. We'll see. It does look like the thing we've seen 100 times before.
Yep.
I think it is cool that it is a largely Latin American cast, which is not something that many superhero movies have done. So I think that is cool. Like I'm like, awesome. That's great. Good job. But if I'm being honest, nothing in the actual content there did anything for me at all.
Yep.
And I think that's the summer. Any other ones you wanted to talk about?
Nope, I'm good.
Yeah, like we said, there's a bunch more movies, and I think one of the most fun things about summer movie season is there's movies that you wouldn't have even made a list that we were putting together that just kind of sneak up on you and blow you away. And I'm looking forward to experiencing some of those as well. But this is what we got for now.
Yeah.
And what do you think is going to be your favorite movie of the summer? If you come back and listen to this episode 7 months from now, which one are you going to be like, oh, Matt, you should have been more excited about that movie?
Probably Mission Impossible. Just maybe Asteroid City, actually. Yeah. I mean, possibly The Flash. Like, let's just admit that James Gunn is good at making movies.
He didn't make that one, just to be clear.
But he kind of... What role did he have in that movie?
Possibly none.
Okay.
So
case,
I mean, he is president of Warner Brothers DC stuff now, right? But I don't know. All principal photography of that movie was completed before he took that role, and I don't know how much of post production was done under his stewardship or not. No idea. So
yeah. Well, in conclusion, Hypnotic by Robert Rodriguez, starring Ben Affleck.
Oh, I will pay you $100 if you ever actually go see that movie.
I mean, I'm a little curious, even though I expect to dislike it. The
Yeah.
trailer actually looked fun, so
Yeah. There's also a movie coming out in May that we didn't talk about because it's straight to Netflix. It's a new Martin Scorsese film, Killers of the Flower Moon, that stars Leonardo DiCaprio.
wow.
I'm really excited about that movie. It wasn't on our list because it's not a big theatrical release, but it's another 3.5 hour Martin Scorsese movie with Leo DiCaprio in it.
Well, that's something. I don't know how I didn't hear about that.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I think I agree with you. I think Mission Impossible is going to be the one I'm hopefully going to fall in love with. I think I'm really ready to fall in love with another Wes Anderson movie. Like I very much enjoyed French Dispatch. I liked Isle of Dogs, but I really haven't loved a Wes Anderson movie since Grand Budapest, and I really, really want to. So I hope that this is that movie.
Yeah, that's well said. I agree. Agree with everything you just said. Yeah, I am excited about it. Even if it's not his best ever, I'm gonna love it. But it would be cool if it was his best ever.
Yeah. Well, that is the summer. It is absolutely just chock full of stuff, and I'm looking forward to it. I don't know how I'm gonna have time to see half of these movies because I still have a child that is too young for me to take to the theater. But we'll figure it out. I'll tell my wife that it's Barbie Oppenheimer day. We got to hand the kid off to someone because we got to double feature it.
Awesome.
And I think, Matt, that's all we're going to do this week. We've been going on for quite a while, so let's just wrap it up.
Sounds good to me.
So that's it this week. I want to hear from you folks. Which movie are you most looking forward to this summer? Why is it Barbie or Oppenheimer? And which, in the Barbie Oppenheimer double feature, which one would you want to watch first?
Yeah, this is a really good question. I actually, I keep going back and forth. It's fascinating. I can't make up my mind.
Well, maybe we'll crowdsource it, folks. Which is the right order? Let us know. You can reach out to us via email at doofmedia@gmail.com or on Twitter at doofmedia. You can also head to r/doofmedia on Reddit, and there you will find a thread for this movie or for this episode, and you can leave your Oppenheimer Barbie opinions there.
That's right. And if you're not already subscribed to the Doofcast, we encourage you to do that and ensure you never miss an episode. You can find us on iTunes, Stitcher, YouTube, Google Play, and pretty much anywhere else you can listen to podcasts. And that way you'll hear all of our thoughts about the 47 movies we just talked about.
Yeah, we're going to have to circle around on at least some of them and talk about what we actually thought of them. So
for sure.
And if you want to support us, consider becoming a patron of Doof Media. Head on over to patreon.com/doofmedia and support us at any of the available pledge levels for a whole bunch of free content. So much bonus stuff we have over there. A lot of fun stuff, including, and I'm going to say it here, Matt, to make us do it, we are going to record a Doof After Dark where Matt and I sit down and decide what the next series we're working on is. We're going to do that. I've said it now. We have to do it. We've done it as a sales pitch. We were considering doing it as part of this episode, but then we talked for 90 minutes and now there's no time. So we're going to do it. We're going to do it.
All right. It is. So let it be written. So let it be podcast. And also please consider rating and reviewing the Doofcast on Apple Podcast. Every review does help us get more exposure and introduces new people to the content that we make here.
All right, folks, that is it. We will be back next week with another episode of the Doof Canon, where we talk about a movie nominated by our patrons. We don't have the movie quite yet, but we will know next week when we watch it and talk about it. So if you want to make sure you don't miss that, make sure to follow us on Twitter because we'll announce what the movie is there once that vote is over. But we will see you all next week.
Bye-bye.
My name is Doof, and you'll do what I say. My name is Doof, and you'll do what I say.